Hi there and welcome to the History Teacher. This revision video covers Weimar and Nazi Germany from the GCSE Edexcel 9-1 course. Hopefully you'll also find it useful if you're studying any of the other exam boards or if, like me, you just love history. You can now become a member to support me to continue making this content from just £1 a month. Plus you'll get exclusive access to worksheets, revision materials, and you'll get to vote on forthcoming episodes. The link is in the description. Hi there guys! Last time we looked at the Wall Street crash and its impact on society and the government. Today we're going to take a look at how those events led to an increase in support for the extreme left and right parties, and especially how the Nazis gained support in different groups in society. As you might expect, the effects of the Great Depression led to a rise in support for extreme parties of the left and right. Support for the Communist Party, the KPD, increased from 28 seats in 1928 to 89 in 1932, which is about 1 million more votes. Many working class voters supported the KPD because they saw them as the only party that would stand up for the growing numbers of unemployed and those in work whose wages were falling sharply. For many, the only way the poor would be able to move forward was to overthrow the ruling class and set up a communist state. However, support for the NSDAP increased at a much faster rate. Many middle class and upper class voters were afraid of the increased support for the communists and looked to the NSDAP to protect them from the communist revolution, which would cause them to lose their money and status. So, who were the people supporting the Nazis and why? As the government seemed more and more unable to deal with the crisis, people looked for a strong leader who would reverse the fate of Germany. Hitler stood out because of his promises to restore law and order. Remember that violence and theft had increased dramatically following the Wall Street crash. He also promised to force foreign countries to scrap the Treaty of Versailles, which was adding to their hardship through the reparation payment. He was very popular and carefully crafted his image to appear strong and in control. Hitler also used his persuasive speeches to gain support. He attended as many rallies and gave as many speeches as he could, sometimes flying across the country to be at the next rally. Remember, this is in the early 1930s when most people had not even seen an aeroplane, let alone flown in one. All of this was funded by wealthy businessmen, afraid of the increase in support for the KPD. The SA were another important factor. In their smart uniforms and organised rallies, they looked prepared and well run. This was a stark contrast to the bickering government. The SA also set up soup kitchens and homeless hostels, which was aimed at persuading people that the Nazis were on the side of the working class. The Nazis had selected their policies carefully to attract different groups in society. Hitler persuaded the leaders of big business that the Nazis were the only hope of avoiding a communist uprising, and that only Hitler could solve the economic problems caused by the Depression. As a result, these businessmen backed Hitler and provided him with the funds he needed to run his campaigns. Included in this group were leaders of newspapers who supported the Nazis by printing their propaganda in the national newspapers, and famous German brands such as Benz and Krups. Meanwhile, the Nazi Party were also trying to seem like the party for the working class. They highlighted their name, the National Socialist Workers' Party, and used slogans such as Arbeit und Brot, or work and bread, which they targeted at the unemployed. They also highlighted their belief in a need to return to traditional values, which would appeal to men who thought their jobs had been taken by women or Jewish people. The SA set up soup kitchens and homeless shelters for the homeless unemployed. However, the majority of working class continued to support the KPD, and the Nazis were never able to get the majority of working class votes on side. Probably the largest group to support the Nazis were the middle class. This group was made up of professionals such as lawyers and teachers, along with people of business. For this group, their priority was to protect their savings and property, and Hitler came across as a strong leader who would be able to solve Germany's economic problems. The middle classes were also afraid of the rise in support for the Communist Party. Were there to be a communist revolution in Germany, they would lose their land and wealth because the communists wanted to get rid of private ownership. Like the businessmen, they saw the Nazis as a counter to the communists. Finally, many middle class people did not like the changes of the 1920s. They saw the increased freedom of women as a threat to society, and they disliked the modernism of art, cinema and architecture. The Nazis promised a return to the traditional values of Germany. More strong support came from farmers. The Nazis had changed their policy of confiscating land in 1928 and now said they would only confiscate the land of Jewish people. Many farmers were hopeful that if the Nazis got in power, they would gain land from the Jewish people rather than lose it. Like other groups, farmers were particularly worried about communism, as should there be a communist state, their land would be confiscated. These were powerful motives for farmers, and in some areas the Nazis gained 60% of the countryside vote. Finally, the Nazis targeted young people and women specifically. Although young people could not yet vote, Hitler wanted to attract them to become members of the party. For many young people, the activities and colourful rallies attracted and excited them. Hitler's speeches also attracted many young people, as he could make them feel like the Nazis were offering more to young people than the other parties. Meanwhile, at first, many women did not support the Nazis because they threatened to remove the rights they had gained during the 1920s. But Hitler was able to persuade some that that he would support their husbands and sons, and this was enough to convince some women. Overall, although the Nazis did focus their policies on specific groups, Hitler pushed the idea that he was the best for Germany as a whole. He told people that for him, Germany was classless and he wanted to work for everyone. This was a powerful message that convinced many. Okay, that's everything you need to know about who supported the Nazis from 1929 to 33. Now for a quick word from my other half, and I will see you next time.
History teacher's SO here. She's given up work and is living off her savings to make these videos full time. Unfortunately, savings don't last forever, so we're asking for your help. If you can spare any money to help her keep making these videos, please visit the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description and give what you can. That said, we know these are difficult times. You might not have any money to spare, but you can still help. Like, comment, and subscribe for the algorithm, but also spread the word. Tell your friends, colleagues, and anyone you think might be interested. Thanks.